To your
Nope.
music's damn it.
Now do it.
Welcome to Your Music Saved Us, where two friends blast ourselves into the past to relive and recontextualize the alternative Christian music we grew up listening to in the 1990s. My name is Jay, and I'll be your host for today. And with me is someone who is not afraid to stand up strong for his beliefs. Clifton, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, we missed an episode.
Uh-huh. We're behind. We apologize. We still fully intend on doing this podcast. It's nothing like that. It's just life got very busy for both of us with
Yeah.
family stuff and everything. So we're gonna get back on schedule. We will have that left out episode we talked about done at some point.
Yes.
So yeah. But for today, I have something very exciting for all of you. This is going to be a surprise for Clifton as well. He still doesn't know what we're doing.
Nope.
So we're gonna maybe get off the script a little bit in just a second. And so before we do that, I'm just gonna go ahead and remind people to visit patreon.com/YMSU to contribute to get extended episodes. I promise we'll put some more stuff there soon for our patrons. Thank you very much for your support. But we're going to shift maybe what we do with this episode a little bit and go off script, but I'm going to play Clifton a video. I will say this is from a Christian artist in the 1990s. This is maybe stretching it a bit to say alternative because it's not really alternative. I'm going to be honest, it's a little more mainstream, kind of in the vein of what we did with um, Carmen's Witch's Invitation before. And I just want to get his reaction. Obviously, I've obviously got some thoughts, but I bet he will as well. I'm also curious if he's ever even heard this. Um, so you ready,
All right.
Clifton?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go, Clifton. Um, I'll just start playing for a minute. We can stop in a second, talk about it.
Okay.
Dad, has it always been this way?
Well, even from the beginning, men hated Jesus. Even though he did nothing but love them and teach them and heal them, they nailed him to a cross.
Have you seen this, Clifton?
I have a vague recollection of like knowing what this is, but I don't know if I've ever seen this.
Okay, so just for everybody out there, this is I Pledge Allegiance to the Lamb by Ray Boltz. This came out in 1994 on his album Allegiance, and this video is quite the production. What are we seeing right now, Clifton?
It's a dad talking to his son in a sci-fi looking room for some reason. I bet it's not sci-fi, but it's does it not have like sci-fi design elements like in the
I see,
background
yeah, I
there?
see
Yeah,
that in the
yeah,
background,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's kind of white, pretty sparse, got some kind of like triangular
Yeah.
shaped either
Paneling.
wallpaper or paneling in the background. Yeah, there's not much else there because it's pretty zoomed in on the conversation.
Yeah. And they're
And as you can,
definitely early 90s haircuts.
yeah, and the quality's not great. This is the best I could find, honestly, of this. I honestly do remember, I think, seeing this at church. I saw this somewhere. In fact, I thought it was Carmen for the longest time in my memory because it seems like something he would do, and then I finally realized what it really was, just why we're watching it now. But
Taking a cue from Carmen.
yeah, exactly. So we'll just play a little more. We're learning about how people hated Jesus, and
From the
we'll see what.
beginning.
I know, it jumps right in. We'll see where this goes.
They thought they had killed him, but they only set him free to live in the hearts of people like you and me who believe in him. Then came the apostles, and most of them were killed for telling other people about Jesus. But by that time, it was too late. There were hundreds of people who believed in Jesus. So they tortured them and killed them, and they even left their bodies to rot as an example to other people. But the church kept right on growing, watered by the blood of these precious saints.
Jesus Christ.
What, Dad?
Yes.
Watered by the blood of these precious saints. Oh my God. That
Yeah,
is,
we've definitely got like the whole martyr thing going on. You know, that you saw that in like I think the next year, 95, was when Jesus Freak DC Talks released. The
yeah.
same kind of thing. Like, and they go by Fox's Book of Martyrs and all this stuff. And so there's definitely that going throughout this. Um,
Yeah. And by the way, this is not historical. The church did not face any kind of, I mean, maybe there was a little bit of organized persecution under Nero, but like other than that, for the first 100 years, especially the church first faced no really organized, you know, martyrdom or anything like that. The persecution, the the persecution they did face was just from the same kind of persecution that people that Christians put on everybody else these days. It's like, why aren't you more like us? You know,
Yeah, it's
it's
interesting
it's
you say
it's
that
it's
because
literally like, why aren't you worshiping the same gods we are? You're going to make the country not work as well, which is the same thing Christians do today.
I looked this up after watching this and thinking about doing this today because I was kind of having the same thoughts. Yeah, and it seems like there was some persecution occasionally in little pockets,
Mhm.
like you're talking about. And yes, there were some people killed for their faith.
Some of them tried really hard, by the way,
Right.
to get killed.
Yeah, and also it's not, and we're going to see this in a minute because you're going to see some. I don't want to give anything away, but there's going to be some more specific examples, and it's just not so clear cut. Like you believe in Jesus, now you die.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's
I mean,
other factors at play. Not saying all these deaths were good or anything. Don't take it the wrong way, but like just saying like it's more complex than they are making it out to be.
yeah, like you know, James probably was martyred. Jesus' brother, that was the leader of the Jerusalem church, but he was martyred by the high priest who was kind of just mad at him for challenging him at all.
Hmm.
It wasn't, hey, your beliefs are heretical. He was just like, I want the power. Why are you challenging me for power? You know?
Right. Well, I mean, the reason Jesus himself was crucified, it was part of it was because he claimed to be king of the Jews.
Right.
Um, and that was not going to fly with the Roman authorities, right? It's not just so simple that like,
Yeah, I
oh, he's the
mean,
son of God, we're going to kill him. Like it's a little more complicated.
yeah, the Romans weren't super, forgiving of troublemakers, people who challenge the state, basically.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they were basically an occupying force.
Yes.
So yeah, but all that to say, this is not as simple as people are making it out to be. But let's jump back in. Let's see what else the father is going to tell the son. I mean, the music's building. We're going somewhere on this.
This is 7.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
We haven't got to the song yet, Clifton.
I
Come on.
know.
This is just the intro. All right, here we go.
Dad, did they want to die?
No,
Badly.
they didn't want to die. I mean, many of them had children just like you that they had to leave behind, but they were forced to make a choice. I mean, they could choose to live this one life here on earth and reject Jesus and be damned.
Did you catch that last part? First time I
Be
watched it, I didn't
damned.
catch it. So
The
you
be
could choose
damned part?
to live this life on earth and be damned.
Yeah.
Okay, well, most people don't want to be damned. So let's see what the other option is.
Or they could choose to believe in the words of Jesus and live forever.
I think I understand.
Here we go.
Maybe this will help you understand.
So just so we understand what's happening in the video, he says maybe this will help you understand. He grabs a book.
A big
Can't really
book.
tell what it is yet, but like a thick book. Sits down, and then we have a scene change to something. And Clifton, I know I just paused it, but what are we seeing now?
It looks like a Knights Templar thing, but it's probably, I mean, I don't know what age we're supposed to be in here, but it looks like, late medieval period with there's a knight in full armor, standing next to a door, or maybe it's just a, one of those ones you buy at Hobby Lobby or something like that. Um, but we're in some kind of late Middle Ages type of thing. And there's also four other people coming in through another opening who are, one of them has a cross on his chest, and the other ones are dressed in armor,
Yeah,
but just chainmail armor.
it's definitely got to be medieval just by the way they're dressed.
Like late medieval is the only time that all of this would happen at once.
Right, like the way it's set up. So
Right.
this is not the early church. This is
No.
not Rome.
No.
Like, yeah. So, you'll hear the lyrics. This video also has them subtitled in the bottom, so you can't miss it. But let's just see what he's trying to tell us here.
I've heard how Christians long ago were brought before a tyrant's throne, and they were told that he would spare their lives if they would renounce the name of Christ. But one by one they chose to die. The Son of God they would not deny. A great angelic choir sings. I can almost hear their voices ring.
Okay.
Yeah, so what do we just see?
So the guy who had a cross on his shirt, which is so nicely into his shirt, was brought before a medieval king, late medieval king, I guess. And the king yelled at him, and he looked down like he was sad. And then the king had him taken away, and now he's being burned alive. So
Yeah, and there's a moment in there where the person shakes their head like they're not going to deny Christ.
yeah.
And then get taken away.
But like, what medieval king was trying to get people to deny Christ?
Well, exactly.
I mean,
I was wondering this too. And then I rewatched it, and I think I know who they're trying to portray here. This person's being burned at the stake. So that's maybe evident of their sex. They're a little bit androgynous looking.
a little bit.
I think it's not actually a man. I think it's supposed to be Joan of Arc,
Okay.
is my guess.
Interesting. That's an interesting. No matter what understanding you come at with the understanding of the Joan of Arc story, it's an interesting one to say that this was a martyr.
Yes.
Because either Joan of Arc was like a crazy person who was hearing voices, or she was a woman who wanted to usurp her place in the world.
Right.
And I don't understand how either of those. I mean, yes, the voice she claimed to hear was God, but I'm also pretty sure that if I said, "Hey, I'm hearing voices from God," and they tell me that being transsexual is okay, that the Christians would also burn me today.
Well, and I also think, and I don't have the window up right now, and I'm afraid to pull it up because I don't want to mess up what we're recording, but I'm pretty sure she was involved in a battle between England and France.
Yes, yeah,
And I think
yeah.
it might have been the English who ended up burning her at the stake.
Right.
So there's that whole thing, the war aspect
Right.
of
It's
it,
also
and
just part of a bigger war, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just interesting of all the things he chose to start with this one. Another thing that I think, and I think, thinking back on this, we did this a lot growing up in the church. And when you talked about martyrs and people standing up for their faith, it was this somehow idea that like somebody like Joan of Arc like believed the same way that 20th century evangelicals did.
Yeah, right.
That like even her concept, let's say for a minute she was martyred just purely for her beliefs, but like somehow her beliefs would be at all similar to what the Southern Baptist Church, for instance, was believing at the end of the 20th century. It's just
right.
It's
strange credulity, I guess. I excuse me, that was a burp. I guess I do have to edit this thing. Nope, not editing. I there's definitely, how do I say this? Evangelical, especially when we were growing up, I think, and before the internet, before you really had good access to anything, growing up in a conservative place, in a conservative church, it was very like bubble, like there was nothing else going on. Like everything fit in that bubble, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it took a lot of work, I know, for me to be able to understand that Christianity isn't one monolithic thing. I mean, it's even hard.
Mm, yeah.
I think that's something that's hard even for people who study Christianity sometimes to remember that it's not been one monolithic thing this whole time, you know.
Right. Right.
But definitely the that world that we grew up in, that the world that this also exists in, was very easy to fall to not be able to see beyond the boundaries of your own life, you know.
Hmm.
And I mean, I remember when I got my first study Bible, and it had like it was not one that like my parents bought for me. I had to like go buy one on my own, because it actually had like a contextual history for each book, you
Right.
know. And I was discouraged. My church discouraged the study of the Bible and any intellectual or intellectual's the wrong word there, because then it'd be like, oh, you just want to get intellectual about this. No, but like any way that sought to understand the actual framework of what was going on, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was highly discouraged, to the point of literally pastor would say things like, you think you're better than God, you think you know better than God, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you get this weird thing where you have people again at the end of the 20th century thinking like, I'm just next in the line of these martyrs
Yeah.
standing up for my beliefs in Christian America. Like it just, yeah, it's trying to simplify things that are not so simple, and you view it all through one lens rather than stepping outside of that lens and realizing like, oh, there's like 100 different ways that, even more than that, but that people have expressed belief in Christianity over the
Right.
years.
Well, I mean, and think about it with like, I remember later in high school, a couple friends and I would go to other churches in town, to see the different ways they did things. And they were all, I mean, most of them were actually still like Southern Baptists, you know?
Yeah, it's
Like,
not like you were going to the Catholic Church or some like
right.
Episcopal
Yeah.
or so. Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah. But, you know, and even then, it's like these still highly related, highly inter-influenced, right? Like they're all still conglomerated around the same thing, especially with the uprising of Christian media around this time, you know,
Hmm.
like this stuff. You know, it felt like they were so foreign and they were doing things so differently, but it was just even that, you still, like, on a historical context, like in a wider view, you still believe basically the same things.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And you're right, so much of Christian media kind of obliterated those denominational differences.
Yeah, it gives
Everybody's
us.
raising their kids with focus on the family.
Mhm.
Everybody's listening to the same music. Everybody's reading the same stuff or watching the same things. And so there's this whole culture out there that's similar, even though you're Methodist, you're Baptist, whatever,
Right.
they're all into the same thing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Well, let's jump to the chorus. I'm curious. By the way, have you heard this song before at this point? Does this sound familiar?
That's a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we'll play the chorus. I'm sure you've heard it, and we'll see where else this goes.
I pledge allegiance to the land with all my strength, with all I am. I will seek to honor His commands. I pledge allegiance to the land.
So, what do we see during the chorus?
I mean, mostly more burning at the stake, you know. And then for some reason we went back in time, back into the castle or whatever, where the person was brought in front of the king, and just zoom in on them.
Yeah. Did you notice the choir singing.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes. There was and the choir looked like it was somewhat historical choir, but like I don't know what it's very mixed signals going on here about where we are and what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the choir, they're all in white, kind of gives the vibe of heaven. It
Mhm.
is kind of mixed race, so I'll give him credit for that. Um, yeah, and then if you notice, I don't know if you saw it at the end, you see, I'm gonna call her Joan of Arc. I don't know if that's who this is supposed to be, but you see Joan of Arc up in the choir singing as well.
Yeah.
Um, with everyone in English. So
Because once you're
um,
dead, we can get along. Come on.
yeah. Also, you see the son and the dad reading in the book, and you can see the cover of it. It's actually that cover of this album, Allegiance by Ray
Oh,
Boltz. And
really?
I thought, oh man, what a grifter! Like he's trying to sell that book in
There's a
there,
book.
but there's not that I can tell.
Oh,
Actually, at least from Google, maybe it did exist and nobody's got it online. There was a song book he put out because this is that type of music that they all have, like you know, chords and piano music and stuff for it.
yeah.
Long, but that's all I ever saw. So who knows? Um, but just talking about the chorus for a second, I pledge allegiance to the Lamb.
It is very Carmen-esque, as you said before, because it's very, it's very unquestioning.
Hmm.
It's yeah, I pledge allegiance to the Lamb with all my strength, with all I am. Something I forget the rest of it, but
I've got the words right here. There you go. I will seek to honor his commands. I
yeah,
pledge
there you go.
allegiance to the Lamb. It
Very yeah, I don't know how else to put it other than it's in that same vein of Carmen of just like overly bootlicking. Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know how else to say it.
I mean, at first thought, I thought like you could almost take this at first glance like that's kind of cool. It's not about like pledging allegiance to your country, it's more
That's
about your
thankfully, yeah.
belief. But I'm not really sure that's what's happening here.
Yeah, I'm not either, and mainly because of the Joan of Arc thing, like it's once again because we're talking about someone who was killed in a war, it's hard to yeah. I have a feeling that we're about to have the rug pulled out from under our feet.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's see where it goes. We're gonna get it in the second verse, and we will see what he shows us here. So
Now the years have gone, and the years have gone, but the cause of Jesus still goes on. And now our time has come to count the cost, to reject this world, to embrace the cross, and one by one let us live our lives for the one who died to give us life until the trumpet sound
I know.
on the final day. Let us proudly stand and boldly say.
All right. So before I play that lovely chorus again, what did you were laughing at then? What did we just see?
So it took me a second to figure out what time period we were in because it was basically just like looked like a somewhat modern day, smallish living room type thing,
Hmm.
with
Right.
some adults gathered around in chairs, and someone comes in and everyone's happy to see this person, and he reaches in his coat and pulls out some papers
Hmm.
and hands them to the oldest guy sitting down. And the oldest guy sitting down opens them up and holds them in a baby doll hand for some reason. And it looked creepy. I don't know what was going on there. And then they gathered, like put their arms around each other and prayed. And then soldiers burst through the door, guns pointed at them, and that's where kind of where it cut off.
Yeah, and I thought the room looked like something out of maybe like the 40s, just the way they
Yeah,
were
I
dressed,
mean,
or
definitely we got this is definitely like a Nazi type thing that it's trying to depict. Although I don't think the Nazis really did this to people who weren't like speaking out against them, you know.
Right. And even like the Nazis had a lot of the support of the church at the time, which is
Sure. And if they
real
didn't
big.
have the support of the church, then those people got arrested and they put someone in, they kept arresting people until they got someone who did support them. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I didn't know if they were trying to do like communist Russia or somewhere in
Yeah, it
Eastern
didn't
Europe
come
and
up. I
like
mean, I guess you could claim that was Eastern Europe, you know, there was definitely, you know, I don't know. It didn't look very Eastern, I'll say
yeah,
that.
it didn't look like it was in some like, you know, purpose-built block of flats on the outskirts of some like Eastern European city.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was struggling to figure this out too. I did look online and I know there was obviously some persecution of Christians in a lot of those Soviet bloc countries because it was supposed
Yeah.
to be atheism was supposed to be the official religion. Although also having a hard time believing this type of thing actually happened. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you know, honestly, the same for the early Roman persecutions, you know, the not that the Soviets didn't do their ginormous share of killing people.
mhm.
But once again, like the Nazis, they killed people who spoke out against them.
Yeah,
Which, by the way, were not mostly Christians. They were mostly fucking socialists.
right.
The people
Yeah,
who wanted the the people who wanted the Soviet socialists, you know, to keep to do what they actually said they were going to do, you know, and implement a socialist regime are the ones who were killed for the most part. They're mostly workers. That
yeah,
is
and
the
yeah,
vast majority of
Dietrich
people who were killed.
Bonhoeffer, he was an outlier on this for sure,
Yeah.
y'all. Do not think that all Christians with the Nazis were
Well, yeah.
standing up making the right
I was
decision.
talking about I was talking about Russia
Oh,
specifically.
apologies.
Yeah,
Yes.
with the Bolshevik revolution, you know. The Bolsheviks definitely killed a lot of people, but they were mostly workers who wanted actual socialism, not people who who were Christians or, you know, so it's just people who spoke out against them basically. They were consolidating power, you
Yeah,
know.
the revolution was political. It wasn't like religious, right?
Right.
This was not
Right.
why they were going around beating up people.
And people who were religious, they bent over backwards to say, "Give me a reason not to kill you, and you can just go on about your life." You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, you can also see now, as I just paused it, we're about to get in the course, but you can see in the background the dad talking to the kid again.
Hmm.
They keep kind of cutting into that scene as it's going. Unfortunately, I'm going to make you listen to the chorus again,
Yeah.
and we'll see what
Live.
else we see. We're going to see one other little scene throughout this. So the real pity is that you can't see Ray Boltz in this video because this was when he was full on sporting that kind of like curly haired mullet.
Mm.
Um, quite a shame, but anyway, we'll go on.
So this dad isn't even Ray Boltz. I figured that was Ray
No,
Boltz.
no, here I will. This is that's Ray Boltz at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, let's see if we got some better.
That is some
Oh,
late
that's just album
90s,
covers.
late 80s, early 90s kind of.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
he almost looks like Weird Al or
A
something.
little
Like,
bit. Yeah.
yeah.
But
So,
like
all
if
right.
Weird Al had a face that you wanted to punch.
Yeah, Weird Al took himself really seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the land with all my strength, with all I am. I will seek to honor His commands. I pledge allegiance to the Lamb of God, who bore my pain, who took my place, who wore my shame. I will seek to honor His command. I pledge allegiance to the land.
You've got to remember.
So, I'll just say the chorus was actually mostly the dad and the son, just kind of clips of them talking.
A little
And
bit
then
of
that
heavenly choir.
little, yeah, you're right, the Heavenly Choir.
It
And
definitely looks like a heavenly choir this time. Yeah.
I think we saw the people again that were just in that room are now in the choir because they've gotten
Okay.
taken away and killed for their faith. And then what was that last thing we saw right before I paused it?
It was a stoning. There was a stoning.
Yeah.
This definitely looked more, they're probably trying to depict, you know, turn of the millennium Israel here,
Hmm.
Um, and it's basically they threw a guy off a very short cliff into a rock quarry for some reason, I guess.
Hmm.
And then they stoned him. They had there's about 5 people, because that's all you need for a stoning is about 5 people. You don't get tired and you know give
Yeah.
up on it with only 5 people.
A-
Uh,
And to be clear, this time I've watched this a couple times now. There's no, at least the first 2 times with the Joan of Arc character and then the probably the communist or whatever, like
yeah.
there's at least a little sense of like why they're being killed.
Well, this guy's wearing white, Jay.
Okay, like this one, there's no real background. I don't really understand. I mean, I get it in the context of the song, but there's no evidence
No,
of like his beliefs or
no.
what's going on
It
here.
started off with them throwing him off the cliff.
And then they just throw rocks at him, and he's shown lying on rocks, looking dead.
Yeah.
So,
Tiny spits of blood.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know why they didn't lead with this one. Just
Yeah, timeline
right.
wise.
Yeah, exactly. But here we are. Um, all right. I'm just gonna jump to because we're about to hear the dad and the son talk more, and this is pretty fun. So here we go.
You've got to remember that it wasn't always this way. I mean, my dad could even pray in school. Of course, they took that away from him, and then it became incorrect for us to believe in the Bible. And
You see what they're doing here?
Yeah, this is the same kind of shit they say today. What does that mean? It came incorrect for us to believe in the Bible. What does that mean?
Right.
It's just something that's easy to say and means fucking nothing. It came incorrect to believe in the Bible. What they probably mean is it became not socially acceptable to force your beliefs on other people through the force of law and things like that. They don't mean I don't care if someone fucking believes in the Bible. Do you care if someone believes in the Bible, Jay?
Nope.
All right. You guys can believe in the Bible. You know what you can't do? Jesus Christ. And also this prayer in school thing, once again, not something that happened. What used to happen is that you used to be able to force other people to join you in prayer as a leader of the school, and that got stopped. But you know who it got stopped by? Other Christians who didn't want that flavor of Christianity taught to them.
Come on, Clifton. That's complicating something that's so simple.
Yeah.
I also found it interesting that you just said they took that away from him.
Yeah.
He's talking about his dad or whatever, like the kid's granddad being able
Nefarious
to pray in
they.
school. Yeah, who is this they? But I mean, so this is 1994,
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same shit we're seeing like now. Like, not that I don't mean it's happening. I mean the belief and that
Yes.
like they're taking this away from you. We are victims here. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I think a lot of us, when Trump got elected in 2016, obviously we're scratching our heads and going, what? And trying to figure out like all the people we grew up with in churches and stuff, and so many of them supporting him. And I know reading books like Jesus and John Wayne and some of the others that come out since then, they were basically saying, you should not have been surprised. This is a long time coming. And now watching this kind of thing, I'm like, oh, yeah, here it is 30 years before, people basically just paving the way for this type of belief.
Right. But once again, it's not even based in reality.
Nope.
You have to live in this insulated world where there's no actual you're not ever personally going to see persecution, but believe me, it's going on out there.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere out there, some Christians are being persecuted. Not in our little town, or any other little town.
Yeah.
A big town for that matter. But somewhere, believe me, Christians are being persecuted, and we're all them.
Mm-hmm. And it could be us next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or Christians act like an asshole and someone calls them out on it,
Right.
and then I'm being persecuted.
And which
Yeah,
is what my pastor growing up specialized in, right?
yeah,
Like he would dream up little shticks like skits almost, to like where he stole some books from the library one time and they're like, dude, you need to give the library books back. And he said no, and that was why he was being persecuted.
Oh, were they like books he didn't deem appropriate
Yeah,
for
it was
kids
it
or something?
was it was like, Heather has two mommies or something like that.
Right. And
And
now he's being persecuted because he stole books.
right, he stole the books from the library and they wanted them back, and that's persecution.
Well,
That's
I remember vaguely in youth group, even the sense of like kids talking about going, to school. I mean, in public school, and like, you're wearing some god awful Christian t-shirt, or some kid is passing out a track in school and they get in trouble or whatever, and people like, yeah, well, you know, Clifton, they said you'd be persecuted for your faith, so just stand strong. It's
right.
like, no, you're being a dick. You're giving somebody
Yeah.
something they don't want. You're not allowed to pass that shit out on school crowd. Like, I don't know.
Well,
It's just, yeah,
usually it's probably because they were doing it like during fucking class.
right.
It's because they were like, I wore Christian shirts every day of my entire life to high school. You know how
Yeah,
many times I was asked to take one off? 0 times.
right.
You know what? You know why? Because they weren't disruptive or offensive or like
Hmm.
calling someone names. Like
Yeah,
like the only people I ever who I saw being forced to take off shirts, people with like Metallica shirts or
right.
Nirvana shirts, things like that. You know,
Yeah,
that's the only people I ever saw who had to take off shirts.
yeah. But the Christians are being persecuted.
Yeah, it's them.
I know. I know. Well, you can kind of guess where this is going, but
Is there more song left?
a little bit.
Okay. They just interrupted the song here.
Yeah. We got to kind of have the dramatic finish.
After that, they just stripped our right to worship away from us, and
What?
we quietly
Stop
stood
it.
by.
Where? When did your right to worship get stripped away from you? When we shut down all the churches? When?
Oh yeah, this was predicting the COVID lockdowns. You're right,
Oh
Clifton. I hadn't
man,
thought it.
yeah.
Ray Boltz warned
Yeah.
us.
Remember all those Christians who are currently in jail right now because we shut down the churches and arrested them for going? And not just begged them to not be fucking super spreader events?
You're right. But we laugh. But you can see how this line of thinking is implanted in people's heads. And so
Yeah.
when that shit happens, people interpret it one way.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately this is a lot of how we got to where we are
It
today.
is. You're right.
Was
It just
this
pisses me off because it's
I know,
just
me too. I know. But I
because
also remember
because how do you even like if someone believes this, if someone believes this, it's against all evidence, right? So how do you talk to someone who lives in an imaginary world?
honestly, that's a great question. And I know I've been scratching my head on that for a while now, right?
Yeah. Because these
and
aren't honest disagreements. This is someone who these people are selling you lies to poison your brain.
yeah,
You know, like the other day I was watching what was it? It was the Bulwark, which is like a conservative news thing that just happens to be never Trumpers, right?
okay,
And I was thinking to myself, like, I am thoroughly happy to disagree with these people about economics
right.
because at least we're like living the same fucking world, you know?
Yeah, right. Like I've always thought that too. Like, hey, if you want to disagree on tax policy or something
Yeah,
because you think XYZ could do XYZ to the economy, great. I
yeah,
can have that discussion. Like,
yes,
because that's based in reality.
exactly.
But
This though, this is literally people selling you lies so that you can be afraid. They're making you afraid so that they can control you.
yeah. Now, I did not watch the Republican National Convention. Surprise, surprise. I'm assuming you
Right.
didn't either.
No, why would I do
Um,
that to myself?
but I'm guessing if you during those 3 or 4 days, there was something like this. I don't mean a video
Oh,
like
yeah.
it, but I mean this style of talking about how they're coming to take away other rights from Christians. I'm sure
I did see an
probably
excerpt
mentioned,
of Greg Abbott talking, and he basically said these exact same things, but it was the border.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so fear is a strong controlling factor for people. And yeah, stuff like this can kind of amp it up. You want to see more? Well,
Yes, I guess so.
here we go.
But son, I hope that you're never put in a position that you have to choose between your faith and your life.
You won't be.
But if you are, I know which choice you're going to make. Because I know that Jesus lives inside of you. In the meantime, just pray like I taught you how to. And take care of your mom. And remember that God is the Father of the fatherless.
I pledge allegiance to the land with all my strength, with all I am. I will seek to honor His commands. I pledge allegiance to the land.
All right, what are we? You could tell where this is going now. You probably tell why I thought this was Carmen.
Yeah, just hardcore pornography is what we're watching now. Persecution pornography.
Yeah. So what's happening?
As the guy said that he put down the book and he stood up and then like some guards started walking down a corridor to come get him because obviously here's the thing, Jay. If they were killing him for being a Christian, why did they let him talk to his kid about God?
And why do you happen to have a book with him?
Yeah, like, hey, it's illegal to believe in Jesus, but you know what? Take 10 minutes. Here's a book about martyrs, and just one last time tell your kid how important it is to believe and to get killed like you. Like, what world is this?
Well, it's clearly the future, right? You were right on with your very early noticing it looked a little sci-fi kind of
Yeah.
in the room because this corridor is very supposed to look like some
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
very similar
sci-fi
yeah.
movie type thing. Even the bars are angled on the door and the
Mhm.
kind of door opens almost like something on Star Wars or something and
Yeah,
when they
slides.
come in. Yeah. So it's clear this is the future and this is what's coming for Christians basically.
Watch out, Christians. We're coming for you. We're
Um
gonna put no praying in schools and talk to your kids about getting martyred like you, and it's bad. It's gonna be bad, guys.
Yeah.
Vote for me. I'm a tiger that won't eat your face.
All right. So before I push play for this last part, what we're seeing right now is the two guards have made it up to his room and they're about to go inside. And you can see him kind of standing behind them. We're looking at from the backs of the
Yeah.
guards. Here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the land with all my strength, with all I am. I will seek to honor His commands. I pledge allegiance to the land. I pledge allegiance to the land. With all
Now we see Dad in the heavenly
I
choir.
will seek to honor His commands. I pledge allegiance to the land.
We find that kid and ask him what he thought about this.
That is a great idea. We should try to track this kid down. I would be very curious where he is today.
Yeah,
Um,
emotionally scarred.
yes, real fucked up. So the last part, the guards come in, the dad reaches down, hugs his son one last time, tears are in his eyes. Obviously, the guards tear him away from his son, march him down the hall. He looks back one last time, and then it kind of cuts to the heavenly choir. You see it zooms out, you see them all singing, you see a lot of them, and then you see dad up there singing with them. And then
Yeah,
they do one last, for some reason, they go back and show us like stuff we've already seen of
little
all the
cutscenes. Yeah.
four different martyrs. So yeah.
Okay.
Um, I remember seeing this, and it must have been at church.
Yeah.
And I definitely, it's a familiar sentiment from this, right? Of like, oh, well, will I make the right decision when that time comes? Will I put my faith in God above everything else? And everybody thought, like, yes, of course I will, you
Hmm.
know. Um, one other thing I thought about with this song, and I'll scroll down to the lyrics, is you know, evangelicals talk a lot about a personal relationship with God. That's not actually really in this song. This
No,
is more
this is
just like,
bootlicking.
yeah, like I pledge allegiance to Jesus. Um, I'll seek to honor his commands, all that kind of stuff. Not like I know him, I love him. This is
Right.
just like, no, I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm just gonna grit, grab white knuckle through it. Like this is it.
Yeah.
Um, So I'm going to show you one other thing that I don't know if you were aware of, just to kind of close this out. I listened to an interview with Ray Boltz, and unfortunately, he didn't talk about this song, but he did talk about how like a lot of the songs he wrote were him really grappling and just like essentially that kind of thing, trying to like white knuckle it. And I'll just pull up Ray Boltz now. I'm just googling it so Clifton can see. And Well, here, we'll pull up the Wikipedia page so you can see where I'm going with this. Um, Here you go, Clifton. I'll underline. Maybe you want to read it for us? Probably doesn't surprise you.
Yeah. On September 12th, 2008, during an interview with the Washington Blade, which I guess is something, Boltz came out as gay. Since
Right.
then, yeah.
No, I'm just and I'll stop sharing my screen because I don't think we need it. But it's not a surprise that a lot of these Christian singers like this. I
Yeah.
mean, I think there's a lot that have not come out. You know.
Mm.
But interesting nonetheless. And in some ways I think having songs like this where you're like, I will do the right thing for God kind of maybe hints at some of the like the tension he's feeling
Yeah,
throughout his life.
that is very interesting. And it's yeah, I think when you struggle with things like that, it can very much lead you to an ill-considered, I guess, kind of allegiance. I've often thought that, for example, that people who don't go to church but say they're Christians, for example, like are politically more dangerous than people who go to church and say they're Christians. Not
Why?
not not because I think that the people who go to church are better people, but because those people who don't go to church feel like they need to make up for it, you know?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. They're in kind of in a reactionary way.
hmm Yeah.
So I think we know when you have that guilt in you, it's yeah, it can lead to a very, very well, overdoing it. How about we say that? Yeah.
hmm Yeah, for sure. Oh. Yeah, I was hoping, to be honest with you, I would find some like interview or something with him where he talks about kind of regretting that song, but he doesn't seem to. And I'm
Jeez.
I'm on his website right now, his current one, and it says he's a Christian musician who has sold 4 million records. And it credits one of the things was inspirational song of the year, I Pledge Allegiance to the Lamb. So
Inspirational.
yeah. He's also Clifton, I'm sure you've heard that song. Thank you for giving to the Lord.
Oh yeah.
I was alive. Do you know that song?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard it in church. Yeah, he's also the genius behind that. So, anyway, I was hoping I would see him maybe change his views on this. I was also curious his current political views. I couldn't find much.
Yeah.
But he is still a Christian. He is still trying to be part of the community, although a lot of people, even when you watch scroll down to the comments under that video I played you, they're all like, I wish he'd turn back to God. God's really angry with what he's doing now, blah 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 blah.
He's still a Christian, but people are like, he needs to be my kind of Christian.
Yeah, he
That's
can't
what
be.
I'm talking about. It's those my kind of Christian people who
Yeah.
are more dangerous than just, I don't know, random people who go to church,
Right. Yeah, so anyway, I just was thinking about that video and thought it's more serious than Carmen, but it's got the Carmen vibes,
Yeah.
for sure. And
not as um kitsch as Carmen,
Yeah.
I guess.
yeah. But unfortunately, I think pretty influential, because if this video has had 2.5 million views since it was put on here, now since 2012, but still,
Not a lot, thankfully.
I mean,
Yeah. In the
and this
grand
is
scheme
just
of
one
things.
version. This is not his official. This is just one version of many of the songs. So
Yeah.
on here. So it's a pretty listened to song. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people, if you look at the comments, a lot of people are still moved by the song.
It hurts me. It hurts me to think about this. I'll say that.
I know. I know. It's like I said, I think a lot of our time has been spent kind of scratching our heads going like, how did this happen? But unfortunately, it's actually been pretty clear for a long time. It's just,
Yeah.
maybe I hadn't connected all the dots.
I mean, there's still an enormous amount of hypocrisy that goes along with the current political state,
Yeah.
But I think that people have a higher allegiance. Really, if this song was truthful, it would be, like I pledge allegiance to stubbornness and hate, not the lamb.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. That's the problem. If you're really pledging allegiance to the lamb, well, the rest of the vibe of this would be very different, because yeah, like if you were really like, I don't even know how you conceive pledging allegiance, but if you're really like, I want to live my life like Jesus,
Right.
no. This is, I pledge my allegiance to my view of how I think Christianity should be.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
which is very different.
you'll remember thoroughly in the Bible when Jesus was arrested, when he didn't rise up an army.
Mhm.
It's very specific what Jesus did do. He is the lamb because he willingly went to the slaughter, right?
Yeah.
Not because he killed everyone who looked at him the wrong way after that.
And so the thing I'm still having a hard time understanding, I get this mindset in this song because we were raised in it, right? And we still see
Yeah.
that today. But then you're also today seeing that switch now, where it's like a lot of these type of people are trying to gain power and kind of want to force this on everyone else, right?
Right.
Like it's not enough just to say like, okay, cool, now I can worship and not be, whatever, persecuted for it. Now I need everyone to believe like I do.
Mhm.
And that's the real like scary turn. Yeah.
Sorry, the electricity just flickered. Interesting. Okay. Luckily, all of my stuff is on battery backup, including the router. Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't. Once you start going down the path of gaining power, you don't stop, right? There's no enough power,
Yeah, that's a great point.
right? there's no, oh, we stopped the bleeding, now we can just go back to worshiping Jesus. That's not. Jesus Jesus is a long forgotten in the church.
Yeah.
It's about power now. It's about forcing themselves on other people now. It's about making other people be like them. It's about doing all the things that they were afraid other people were going to do to them.
Mhm.
Afraid
Mm.
needlessly, you know, but nonetheless afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, I don't know if you felt this way, but I think like, especially in my 20s and college, and kind of as I was like maybe getting into more music that wasn't Christian music and going to shows and stuff, I think there was always this part of me that was like nervous or afraid of interacting with non-Christians, or would I be accepted in those
Mhm.
circles, or like that. And like, to be honest, in hindsight, most of those places were much more accepting than
Oh yeah.
like churches were. But I remember feeling so worried
Yes.
that like, oh God, I don't know. This is awkward. This is strange. I'm gonna be attacked for my faith, and no one really gave a fuck.
Yeah, and I think that's, you're 100% right there in that, churches tell you, hey, nobody is more accepting than we are. And they do accept you so long as you're exactly like them. But then when you go walk out into the world, you find out that most of the world is far more accepting than even they are, right? Because
Mhm.
once again, you need to be like them. You need to do things their way for them to accept you.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it's an interesting. I think it's been so long since I've thought like that that I kind of forgot about that.
I know. I know.
I because so quickly after encountering the real world was my delusions shattered. My
Hmm.
delusions about the world being not accepting, that it didn't even, like, it's almost, it almost feels like a different life.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's funny. Um, Grateful to have encountered the world. I
Yes.
mean, because I think a lot of people never get out of this bubble, and I think honestly that's a large part of the problem.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And if anyone from the world that we encountered went and tried to find quote unquote acceptance in the church, they would immediately be tossing their ass out the door, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It was acceptance as long as you kind of started acting like
Right.
them.
And I think that Christians fool themselves by saying, no, 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 we're the most accepted people in the world. And they because they once again they live in these bubbles, right? Where everyone's like them.
Hmm.
And they think that they're accepting, but they've never had to actually be accepting. And the few times that they have been challenged, they failed so utterly that they just immediately forgot about it.
Yeah.
And so you truly can find Christians who will say to you, I don't know, like my parents, like they're the most accepting people in the world, like I mean, sure, they hate the gays, but they're super accepting, they would do anything for you. Well,
Right.
so would most people,
Yeah.
but they also don't hate the gays.
Right.
And so they would do anything for those people also, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's once again, this is one of those, if Jesus were real, why aren't you better?
Mm. That'd be a good bumper sticker, Clifton. If Jesus were real, why aren't you better? God, maybe I'll make that into a sticker.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think that's a good place to close it. I know this is a short one, but we were just happy to actually just jump back on here and do anything with the
Yeah.
way life has been going. So, yeah, we will have something soon.
Yeah, so we're definitely gonna have the Left Out episode coming up. We've also invited on Chrissy from Excommunication Station to come on, and she wants to talk about Life in General by MXPX.
Good.
So that might be next, just depending on the schedule that we work out, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, I've also done some fun things in the mail lately, Jim.
Ooh, Clifton, what do you got?
I have two here, two
He's got some vinyl. I can't tell what it is
seven
yet. Seven
inches.
inches of.
This is from the Danielson. Um, he's doing like a Kickstarter type thing,
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
where they're custom pressed. He's like writing one song a month for his new album. And this is kind of financing him through that. So I've gotten 2 months of that. I don't have my record player set up yet still in the new house. So I'm not listening to them, but
Do they have them digitally too, or is it
yes, and
only?
yes, I haven't gotten around
Okay.
to that yet.
Okay.
I also got Totally Craft re-released their first album on LP.
Nice.
That came in. I did a pre-order of that, and then for some reason they sent me a second copy. I don't know why, but I have
Oh,
two copies now.
okay. Very cool.
Hopefully they didn't mess up everyone like that, because that's a good way to lose money.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might call them. I also I was on an excommunication station listener hangout, and they had a Bible trivia, and I won the Bible trivia. So
Oh,
I got this Carmen book, Satan Bite the Dust.
oh my God, that actually exists.
Yes.
Carmen, a storybook for kids, y'all saying by the dust. I'm guessing it's
Yes.
like, is it kind of graphic novel-y ish?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Warrant for the arrest of Satan and his demonic cohorts. See, it's pretty much the music video. It's not like it's more like a children's book than it is a graphic novel.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
You
But
know,
oh my God,
Satan Bite the Dust.
this is so weird.
Yeah,
People like
there's the Klingon guy.
unironically like got this for their kid. I don't even know. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, Chaz sent this to me since I won the Bible trivia thing. Anyways, fun stuff.
Good stuff. Well, yeah, we might have to do a Patreon episode or something and listen to some of those Danielson tracks. It'd be kind of
Yeah,
fun.
that'd be
And
cool.
talk about them.
Let's do that.
Okay. Well, we'll close out. I'm not sure what part of the outro I read, but I'm hoping you'll remember and tell me what to
Ooh,
read.
I don't even have it open.
Oh, you want me to read the whole thing?
Read the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Here we go. All right. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Your Music Saved Us. If you enjoyed your time with us, please leave us a review or share this episode. Visit patreon.com/YMSU to contribute and get extended episodes. Visit our website, yourmusicsavedus.com, to find out all the ways to listen. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And join our Facebook group or follow us to keep up with the latest or interact with us. And send complaints and disagreements to yourmusicsavedus@gmail.com. The music in this episode is the work of Ray Boltz and is used with apologies, not permission. If for some reason you do want to buy Ray Boltz's music, you can go to rayboltz.com.
But tell him that you're disappointed in him.
No, we're happy he came out and is living
Yeah.
honestly in that, but he
Not
might
that
want to
part.
he might
About
want to
this
recant
song.
this song. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. There we go.
It's fucking martyr song, yeah. All right. Bye.
All right, bye everybody.
Stop.